Detroit gave you power. Now what will you do for your city? I am the daughter of the city. I am the daughter of the hands of the GM assembly line. I am the daughter of those who dared to demand integration. My mother is a champion of social justice, lover of community and life. She also served during the Poor People's March when Dr. King came to Detroit just before he gave his speech, the I Have a Dream speech in Washington, D.C.
Because I've been to the mountaintop.
She shared with me a multitude of stories about what that experience was like and the racism that she encountered. I'm so proud to say that I am her daughter. I am Brenda Williams, and I am Detroit. My name is Brenda Williams, and I'm a multi-hyphenate. I am an entrepreneur, I am a creative, and I am a lover of life. So I started writing poetry at around 14 years old, and I would later find out that my great-great-aunt also moved to Detroit, and she was a poet. And so her work influenced me. She wrote about the impact on her during the riots here, or the uprising here in Detroit. I'm an assembly line baby. My father worked on the assembly line. The assembly line work, I believe, creates this really strong work ethic, team building too, because on the assembly, if you miss any part of the line, if you miss your part of the job, it would really tank any production of the line. So you really had to think strategically, but you also had to think as a team. Detroit is home of love, community, love of humanity, creativity. Revolution happens here in Detroit on a daily basis. We have an over 80% populace of Black people here in Detroit. We've gave the world its soundtrack, Motown, and that's not something that's in the past. That's something that lives here currently. So many artists and creatives and just dedicated people. I am a product and daughter of the city of Detroit. It raised me. My mother being a native Detroiter, my father, Southwest Detroit. So having the two areas of the city merge, that is what my legacy is. Hard work, dedication, love, resiliency, community, faith. These are the words that I hope are laced in my legacy as a person who was raised by Detroit.
About 90% of people that are immigrants coming into the U.S. never have a run-in with any type of legal entity. I am Elizabeth Orozco Vasquez, and I am Detroit. We came here when I was very little. I was about 1 year old, and we came here as undocumented immigrants. My mom wanted to give me a better life, and she wanted to give herself a better life. She knew that we wouldn't be able to have a good life or survive if we stayed where we were at. My mom's job was working in the auto industry. So she used to work for what was then Mexican Industries, and they were a supplier for the big three. They used to sew the steering wheels for the cars or the leather work inside of a car. My name's Elizabeth Orozco Vasquez. I'm the CEO at Freedom House Detroit. Freedom House Detroit is a nonprofit that's been around for about 40 years. We were first established in 1983, and we came to be because of the Salvadorian War at the time. There were many asylum seekers fleeing El Salvador to come into the United States. Right now we have about 29 different countries in the house, 11 different languages being spoken. While it's a wonderful place to be, it's very sad as to why we still need to be there. We're there to be a beacon of safety for people fleeing persecution around the world. About 65 to 70% of the people that come to Freedom House are victims of torture back in their home country. Give them everything from shelter to basic needs, to case management, to legal assistance, medical and mental health services. Mostly because asylum seekers are not eligible for any type of assistance here in the US. So they're unable to actually work for almost a year after they come here. So that's why we're here, is to get them through that time so that they can then become business owners and community members here. The people of Detroit are really remarkable because I do believe we have what we call here our hustle culture, right? We have had to fight in any of the communities that you see in Detroit for what we have. We believe that Detroit can be better, that we are a great city already. And so you see that in the resurrection of Detroit. It's always been a brilliant city. It's just changing the way people are viewing it.
We have 140,000 souls of untapped potential. Silence is betrayal. When the hands of power and influence extend their hands to the rejected, we will not just see a new Detroit, but a Detroit of promise.
I would say Detroit is an example to keep going and not to give up.
I'm Kiana Tate, and I am Detroit.
I remember going to Belle Isle, hanging out on the beach, playing on the giant slide, looking at all the beautiful flowers, and, hanging out at the Detroit Zoo, seeing all the different animals, the elephants, the bears, chickens, different animals. I was really intrigued with that. Yeah, I remember those days. I miss growing up when I was younger. My name is Kiana Tate, and this is my sign name. I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, and I'm currently an author. And the name of the book is Signing with Kai. And the reason why I thought of creating the book is because I'd never seen any black or brown people in books. So, I just reached to my mom and was like, hey, what do you think about, setting up a book? Let's set up with Signing with Kai. In my experience, it just kind of made me sad that I never seen anybody look like me in any of the books. So I decided to, make a book to have different black and brown people that look like myself. I just recently got a new job, and I also went to school at Madonna University. I was majoring in education. Would like to be a teacher for deaf youth. 30, 40 years from now, I definitely want to own a business who has accessibility for the deaf community. Can't really think. I know that's one of my major goals. Yeah.
We must shift the narrative of poverty as it is human made and must therefore be human healed. Are you willing?
Detroiters have to do a better job at telling our story. I am Chiara Clayton, and I am Detroit. I would tell the story about the Detroit I know. I think we need to do that as Detroiters, to tell our own story and to change that perception and invite people here. Invite people to come and give them your Detroit experience, show them all the beauty of the city, and have them go. I always tell people, when you go back home, let them know the good time you had in Detroit. So I think it's going to take all of us to do that, to really change that narrative. My name is Chiara Clayton. I am the Director of Communications for the Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries. The Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries just celebrated 115 years this year on February 14th. So we're one of the largest missions in the country dedicated to helping those who are homeless. So right now we have over 11 locations in 5 counties, most of them centered in Detroit. And we allow men, women, and children to stay with us if they find themselves homeless based on not having affordable housing, if there's any type of domestic violence situation, if there's any addiction issues. And we allow them to stay, but we get to the root of why they are homeless. I'm born and raised in Detroit. I am the daughter of a Detroit police officer, 27 years, and also of an executive assistant with General Motors. The east side of Detroit was a wonderful place to grow up. Lots of things to do, and I just think of it fondly. And thankfully, my parents still live in the same house that I grew up in since 1980 on the east side. So sometimes you have to go through a hard time to know what you're made of and to come out of it stronger and to learn. Resilience is built, it's not always given. And I think Detroit's story to the world is that resilience always shines through. It's always able to overcome, and you usually come out stronger. We've been resilient from its inception to the 60s when we saw, the demographic changing to, 10 years ago with the bankruptcy to now. So I think just the resilience of Detroiters, the belief in our city, that even through bad times, we know that it's not the end and that whatever happens here, we get through, we use it to grow, and we share our story and our love and pride for our city.
My father wanted me to marry to come to the United States. Husband go to work for 13 hours, and we rent the room and live with my husband nephew. And pretty soon, my husband built a house. Then we at the house. That time, really hard time. No money. I am Karen Lee Lim, and I am Detroit. My Chinese name is Chan Lai Ho. Come to Detroit because my husband go back to Hong Kong. My husband is a World War II soldier, Army, and we got married 1954. Come to the Detroit is December 25th, I never forget. That time, I never see the snow. I didn't have big clothes. I wear the spring clothes. When I get out the plane, the snow up to my knees. So cold. I like Detroit very much. I enjoy my working, my boss good, and I also, afterward, with my husband together, that time is really happy.
Detroit was the city of promise for many who were seeking a better life. Detroit is still a city of promise. And I promise, if you loosen the grips of power and greed and feed those most in need, Detroit, I promise, will bring out the best in you. So now give your best to the city.
I was singing for Aretha Franklin at the Masonic Temple, and that's something that will live with me for the rest of my life. I am Mark Irwin, and I am Detroit. I grew up really loving music and always being in choirs, and I must have only been maybe 9 or 10 at the time. I remember I got to sing a solo, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, and right when I walked up to the front of the stage and began singing, I saw this incredibly vibrant woman walking down the center aisle, and she was being escorted to her seat in the second row. and she had a long flowing fur coat. And I realized it was Aretha Franklin being seated in the second row. My name is Mark Irwin. I use he, him, and his pronouns, and I'm the executive director at the Ruth Ellis Center. The Ruth Ellis Center was established back in 1999, and it was in direct response to a young person who was only 15 years old at the time. He had come out to his family, and they immediately and violently rejected him because of the fact that he identified as gay. His home life became so unsafe that he ran away and was living on the streets, experiencing homelessness. But this young person was courageous enough to tell his story to some community leaders. When he did, they too decided to scan what resources might be available throughout the city, because surely there had to be something to support LGBTQ+ youth. But at the time, there really wasn't anything. And so it was those community leaders who organized a group of individuals. It was 16 people, composed of educators, attorneys, community activists, social workers, mental health professionals. They came together over Memorial Day weekend just to brainstorm some ideas. And what they came up with was this idea that they could create a safe space for LGBTQ+ young people here in the city of Detroit, so that they knew that there was a community that supported them. So that's what they did, and they wanted to name it after an extraordinary Detroit woman, a Detroit icon, quite honestly, Ruth Ellis, who was born in 1899, originally from Springfield, Illinois, but moved to Detroit in the 30s. And her partner, Babe, quickly became known as the folks that had the parties, the folks where it was safe to be you. And so it became that place for the LGBTQ community in the city of Detroit. I know that for many individuals who identify as LGBTQ+, including myself, the coming out process can be a challenging one for us as individuals. For many of us, it takes years to come to terms with our identity. Many parents have this idea of what their child will be when they grow up, who they'll be, what their family will look like, what their grandchildren will be like. And when that changes, it can be difficult for parents. I would tell any parent who has a child who identifies as LGBTQ+, to be patient with themselves, to be kind to themselves, and to realize that the story that you painted in your mind about who your child would be may not be that. It may be a little bit different, but it doesn't mean that it can't be extraordinary.
When those who are closest to the power labor for those who are the furthest from it, there will be a bridge of hope, and oppression shall cease.
You can't have a country that operates in such a way that we hope to without having all the voices at the table. I am Ebony Taylor, and I am Detroit. I really don't know why I'm getting emotional and thinking about this, maybe because I have my own children, but just they passed on being good people. It didn't matter how much money you had. It didn't matter what schools you went to. But the thing that stands out that I pass to my children is be good people. Consider where others are coming from. Have empathy. Love your neighbor. My name is Ebony Taylor, and I'm the Vice President of Programs of Higher Heights. It's important to have Black women in higher office because there's this idea of the collective genius. There's no way that, in my opinion, that you have sound reproductive justice policies without having all the voices at the table. And what we find is that there are not enough voices that look like mine at the table, at the federal level especially. Right now, we only have one Black woman who is serving in the U.S. Senate. She was appointed. Without the voices like Black women at the table, I think it's hard to really address the issues that only Black women can speak so deeply around. If you don't do politics, politics will do you. I don't think that the opposition, whatever that might be for people, spend so much time, money, and energy trying to quell and trying to tamp down voices, moving policy to reduce the number of people who go out and vote, especially in Black and brown communities. I don't think that if your vote didn't matter, that folks would take the time, take the energy, and take the money, quite frankly, to ensure that you don't get out or make it more difficult to get out and vote. Housing is a huge issue. The cost of living, I think, across the country has skyrocketed. Another policy issue in Detroit, I think, is jobs. There are a lot of people who, and I know, for instance, in the neighborhood that I grew up in, they're looking for jobs. They're looking for good jobs. They're not looking to work 2 and 3 jobs. People assume that Detroit is this place where there are only thugs and it's a bunch of crime. Detroit is like any other metropolis, right? New York City, Washington, D.C., you name it, Los Angeles, where there are sort of great parts of the city and there are not so great parts. There's crime, there's also so many wonderful things that set it apart and distinguish it as one of the best cities.
This is the land of opportunity. We hear that for the America, but Detroit is like, oh my gosh, I love Detroit so much.
I'm Cassidy Conley, and I am Detroit. I was 8 years old, and I was outside with my friends, and we went walking to the park, and I met, this is crazy, but I met a political candidate. He was running for Congress, and that's when I first fell in love with politics. I saw for the first time someone in our community who was like advocating for what we were looking for, and at 8 years old, I'm like, politics is crazy. I didn't even think of it as like something to get involved in. My name is Cassidy Conley. I am 18 years old. I am a political organizer. I just really love getting involved with the community in politics. When in my middle school years, I decided to pursue a career in politics because around that time is when I started getting a little disappointed with the leadership and within our country, not just Detroit. I find Detroit leadership to be great. And I saw it my duty to prepare myself and make sure that I had all of the education and knowledge that I could to give back to my community and to this country as an elected official one day. So I'm gonna sound crazy here, but when it's time for me to run for office, I will start off as running for city council probably, but ultimately I want to go to the top. I would love to pursue a presidential candidacy. I think the best way is to learn through all levels. Right now I'm actually running for precinct delegate, which is the lowest level of office, which I thought would be fitting for my age and my experience, but you know, at some point I would like to be a federal candidate. People do have a misconstrued perception of the city of Detroit. But one thing I say is open your eyes, come to the city of Detroit and you have a different perspective. Our leadership in the city of Detroit has been phenomenal. And within 10 years, downtown has been renovated and has not only went from bankruptcy, but to prosperity. I mean, you gotta think, we were in bankruptcy 10 years ago. And now this is the place to be. We just had the NFL draft. We're having so many opportunities here in the city. And it's not just downtown. We're seeing community centers being renovated, parks and recs are developing, and this is becoming a more safe space for communities. The prime example is the Detroit Lions. They are literally the epitome of what Detroit is about, you know. They've been doubted and like struggled in their success for years and years, and out of nowhere they came and took it almost to the top. I mean, we were this close to the Super Bowl. And I bring that up because that is literally what I see Detroit as.
I grew up seeing so many Black men, you know, who were really trying to do everything they could to make this city better. I'm Omari Jackson, and I am Detroit. My father is a Detroit police officer, has been since before I was born. So when I was young, I spent a lot of time at 36th District Court with my father. So he would be testifying in court cases. That was something that I always found interest in. It gave me a very unique perspective because in Detroit, you know, obviously we are a city that's not, you know, very trustworthy of the police. My name's Omari Jackson. I'm a luxury retail professional. I have a background in political science and supply chain. When the auto industry was here and thriving, this city was, it was the capital of Michigan. We were a hub, and there was a lot of money here. There was a lot of opportunity here. And, once that started to dry up, white flight. We're one of the most segregated metropolitan areas in the country, if not the most. Black business owners, for the most part, it's so significant to us because there's so much more risk involved. If they lose these businesses, they lose everything. We need to succeed. It's not just a want. We have to do good or we will not be able to survive. But we need people who actually went through the struggle that know what Detroiters are going through today, because our politicians are so far removed from what is actually happening in the city. We can't have politicians who are in the top 1% making decisions for the bottom 99. It doesn't make sense, and that voice is just not there. We need more people like me who can actually speak for the people, who can actually raise the concerns that we have, that can actually show the problems that exist. That's why I want to run for office one day, because that is all minutia. We need to actually figure out what we can do to better people's lives, like real people's lives.
Can you hear that? It is the cry for basic needs to be met. Can you hear that? It is the cry for security and protection. Can you hear that? It is the cry of dreams interrupted and broken. Can you hear that? It is the cry for us to take up the mantle and heal the city.
Beverly Hills Cop, I don't know if I was inspired by it, but just seeing Detroit landmarks in a movie is a great thing. Seeing certain streets, and who doesn't love Eddie Murphy? So I think it's a good movie. I am Dale Dorsey, and I am Detroit. I decided to become a police officer, I believe, later on. I wasn't that child who at 8 or 9 years old that looked at a police vehicle and said, hey, I want to be the police. I never had that thought. And as I got older and I had another job that I worked around law enforcement, and I said, hey, this may not seem like a bad job at all. And that's how I got into it. My name is Dale Dorsey. I am a neighborhood police officer with the city of Detroit. Being a community police officer, the way I help youth in the city is by, number one, caring. If we don't care about them and they know that we don't care, then they'll turn a deaf ear to what it is that we're saying. At the 3rd Precinct, the way we have helped youth, and a lot of the memories that we have that are positive, is we would offer crime prevention programs for youth, and they would come to our precinct once or twice a week and learn about different things, whether it be bullying, gun safety, and what to do in case you find a gun, internet safety, and they would come there and they would learn, but it's not just learning, but they would also have fun. So we would integrate the two, and it's a great time for us and them. So watching them now, because a lot of the youth we dealt with are now older, they have kids, they have careers, they've graduated from college, and seeing them in the neighborhood and they bring back memories up saying, hey, I remember we came to the station and all of these things. That right there is what touches my heart, to know that we had a positive impact on somebody. How I felt when Detroit, well, 10 to 15 years ago, Detroit, of course, wasn't the way it is right now. So I continue to do my job, continue to patrol, continue to interact with citizens, and continue to try to uplift citizens in the city, and just doing what I do. I would have never imagined that 15 years later, the city would be like this. I mean, it's an amazing place to be, an amazing place to work. I think a lot of people are looking at Detroit from 25 years ago, and when crime was higher in the city, and they used that from 25, 30 years ago and say, hey, the city is still like this, and it's not. Resilience is just keep going forward, keep pushing, continue to persevere through storms, continue to have a high level of professionalism and integrity, and continue to plant seeds. And I believe that if we plant good seeds, they'll continue to come up and they'll be positive for us. They'll bloom into something positive.
We have been working since we were 16 years old in a variety of industries and a variety of activities. But because of the work ethic that my parents instilled in us, we know how important it is to not only do that work and make a living to take care of yourself and your family, but to also do something that matters within your community as well.
I am Denise Irvin, and I am Detroit. The neighborhood that I grew up in is still to this day the place where my parents live, and it is full of families and children and elders inside of families, and I distinctly remember having neighbors that were like parents. I would go down the street to my neighbor's house to sit in their rocking chair while they worked in the garden at 4 or 5 years old, just because I liked hanging out with them. Or a neighbor on the other side would bring home food on every Friday night. She'd bring home pizza. My father worked at Ford Motor Company in the Dearborn stamping plant for 41 years before he retired. And my mother was a homemaker. So she stayed home and took care of myself and my older sister, and in their entire 56 years of marriage has not had a job. The values that my parents passed to me that I'm still using in my life are working hard, getting an education, and caring about the community and the people that are around you. My parents didn't graduate from college. Both of them just barely graduated from high school before coming up here from the South. My sister and I both not only went on to college, but got multiple degrees in college. My name is Denise Irvin. I am a poet and an educator in the city of Detroit. Teaching creative writing with children is so important because the only way you can actually figure out who you are in this world and communicate who you are to this world is to have the language and the confidence to be able to do so. So with creative writing, we push into a classroom and we work with those students on the things that they're interested in, and we give them confidence in their own voice. We give them confidence, we give them language, we give them the ability to communicate, and then we publish each and every one of them in a book. So every student from the age of 5 years up becomes a published author. Imagine what life would be like for anyone who knew at 5 years old that that was the possibilities of what they could be. I would describe all of the positive changes that I've seen in the city of Detroit over the past decade as being attributed to the resilience of the people. There have been a lot of instances where people have left the city, a lot of instances where people have come back to the city, a lot of instances where we've had bankruptcy, where we've had violence, where we've had a lot of different things going on. But the people within the city of Detroit never give up on the city of Detroit. We are always resilient. We are always strong. We are always creative. Because of that, there's never a time that you could count the city of Detroit out. People like to say that it's a resurgence or a rebirth. I think that in order for that to happen, something would have to die first, and Detroit will never die. Its spirit will never die.
You know, Detroiters, most of us, our families are from the South, you know, or Cali and things. You had the Great Migration up north, and then you have another one that went to the West Coast, almost exclusively being California. So, you know, my people are a mix of that. I am Rashard Dobbins. I am Detroit. My childhood was beautiful. My father, unfortunately, was in a car accident, like right after I was born. Was in a coma for a year. Thankfully, he came out of that, and has been an assisted living my whole life. But, you know, first, so because of that, right, it's me and mom against the world. There's a type of hustle that we have in Detroit, as opposed to some other cities. No shade to them. I think just the fact that you kind of have to do multiple layers of things. If you're a fashion designer, you're gonna have to do most of the different steps in it, right, as well as doing the designs. Where some of my creative folks in different cities can focus and be a specialist in different things. In Detroit, you kind of have to specialize in a lot to do it. So I think seeing my mom work jobs, cleaning restaurants with her to the wee hours, you know, in the AM, sometimes not even going to school, I think just naturally kind of put a grittiness and a work ethic in me. And then, of course, you know, my father, you know, being disabled and things like that. I am Rashard Dobbins, executive director and founder of Class Act Detroit. What was the idea and why did I create Class Act? From early elementary on, I moved about 1 to 2 times a year. And when you have an experience like that, you get a chance to see what's going on this side of the tracks, and places where there are no tracks. And just from, the merging of my careers from working in entertainment to becoming an educator to now really combining the both, one of the things I did was I was a talent agent. And in doing that, I would see these talented youngsters who, at any given point, their families would get up and go to California for months on a time, for months out the year, because there was an opportunity from Nickelodeon or something big like that. If this is the case, they need mentors to help to where they are. And that's something that, exception of like my grandparents and my amazing mother, I didn't have many mentors and femtors. You take away my trombone or my horn or my sax or something, that's cool. I sample Duke Ellington and his band, right? You take away my art supplies, that's cool. We'll do murals on these walls and visual design will go there. We'll do graphic design. You take away my dance classes and we're breakdancing. We're doing James Brown on the ground, right? We're hustling, we're ballrooming, we're doing these things, right? So to me, it's a resilience, right? That very much resonates with me as an individual, but also me as a Detroiter, me as a man of color, right? As an individual of the diaspora. So for me, hip hop can save America. Hip hop can save the world, if you ask me.
It was about 1920s. There was a couple thousand Chinese that had moved over here. And so there's a lot of discrimination on the West Coast, both in the mines. They had to turn to laundry work because that was considered women's work and not a threat to, I think, the white laborers, male laborers out there. Restaurant work as well. And so I think people to escape that, Chinese Americans to escape that, moved towards the Midwest, and some ended up in Detroit. I am Richard Moy, and I am Detroit. My dad worked in a restaurant, and it was 6 days a week, probably 10-hour days or so. He didn't really have much opportunity to do other things, and so his network was really just his coworkers, other restaurant folks. He never really learned English well, and so actually when he became a citizen, he kind of defaulted into it. I think he was here for 25 years and like, okay, you're gonna stay, so you can be a citizen. For my mom, she was a housewife, and so she had an opportunity to take English language classes at a local church. She studied for the citizenship exam, so I think she probably had a little bit greater pride in terms of being an American citizen. I think the story probably for all immigrants is that, right, especially working class ones, that you sacrifice, so your kids can succeed. The idea of giving up, familiar culture, familiar language, family members that are over there still, to come to a new country so that you can, so that your kids can prosper. I think that's always the hope. Hi, I'm Richard Moy. I'm the president of the board of the Association Chinese Americans. The interaction between Detroiters and the original Chinese Americans, I think just with proximity, right, that you have to kind of get along. And there's some cross-cultural seeding, if you want to call it that, or interweaving with one another. Almond boneless chicken is essentially it's filleted chicken breasts that's breaded and deep fried, and this brown gravy that's put on it. And the almond is actually just like a garnish on the top. That being kind of this cultural mixing of fried chicken and the Chinese version of that, Chinese version take on that. So I think if you go back to China, there's no such thing as like almond boneless chicken. That's something unique to Detroit. And it's spread out across the country now. What's really been great in Detroit is I think it's renaissance the last 10, 15 years in particular is just the renovation. I think the success builds on one another, right? Detroit has always had, I think, since the big three are here, is like a working class, get the job done attitude. And I think that's what's helped us through the hard times and, and will help us in our renaissance.
I don't think I have to give back. I chose to give back. It's the difference. People have a choice to make. You could give back or you shouldn't. I have the passion to give back. This something was in me because I faced the poverty. I am India Johnson and I am Detroit. My social worker at the time, named Richard Sterner, he adopted me and basically He put my love, he knew I loved dance. He basically invested time into my dance. I escaped from my childhood wounds. I danced it out. My name is India Johnson, but I go by India West in different communities. And what I do, I call myself a businesswoman. I take care of business. Growing up, how was my parents and my mom and dad? It's going to be emotional, but I'm healed, so I could talk about it. I grew up in a separation home, and also I grew up in a domestic home. I see my mom get beat on. I see my dad face mental health issues, and I'm oldest of 4. I came from a home of 5 with separation. I came from home abuse. So in my eyes, I ran away at 14 because I didn't want to experience that. I want something better. I knew something better for me. Despite how did I got here, despite because how I came apart, that's not my parents' fault because of that. But it is accountability. So me coming here, I learned that because I learned from me growing up. Growing up is different from nowadays. I have a choice as an adult. And I rewrote my story because my story never been heard because my mom told it, my dad told it. When we was a child. But yeah, my childhood wounds was not amazing. My true story is I came from poverty, and I want to make a difference for the community under me and make the difference for the older people. Like, despite what y'all did, we still love y'all, and it's always about healing and growing and being a part of the bigger picture of loving each other and bringing families back together. When I started my dancing I was a child, I want to say 6, and started in church. I got the spirit of the dance spirit. It's spiritual, something spiritual for me. Every time I hear music, I heard a beat. I call on to the beat. I'm like, oh, okay. I start putting movement in my head. Me understanding that, did I know what it was? No, I was 6. I didn't know what it was. I just thought movement, beats. And I did not realize how spiritual and how powerful dance movements are because I connected with a lot of people, and it's a healing tool for a lot of people. And it's history. There's a lot of people who have to understand that dancing have history. Just like Black history, just like economics, politics history, everything have a history. But one thing about Detroit is never live your life as of what you think. Always try to experience it before, because you never know what your outcome. It could be a blessing or it could be a lesson.
And understand, we just covered Michael Jackson, the biggest star ever. Don't forget that. And Detroit was clever enough to recognize the levers he would pull to make the weather change.
Hip-hop music has changed the world. I can say that because I've been in the world before hip-hop existed. I am Piper Carter, and I am Detroit. I come from a lineage of artists, and so my father was a Hollywood actor, and he lived in Los Angeles for most of my life. He moved there when I was 2, and my childhood I spent my summers visiting him in Los Angeles and living that kind of interesting life of a Hollywood actor. And my mother, she was the first accounts payable for Motown. My name is Piper Carter, and I define myself as a human being that centers human beings, that cares about humans and humanity. I would define myself as an artist, as an organizer, and as an activist. Hip-hop was created because of the political inequities that existed at the time, whether that was communities being destroyed through industrialization, which included the destruction of the education system, or the ways in which everyone could have access to quality education system, which would include the arts. And so when hip-hop is created, it's created out of this need to still be, and to still be seen, and to be valued. As it relates to Detroit, I would say some of the Detroit contributions, one of the biggest Detroit contributions is the legendary producer, J. Dilla J.D. James DeWitt Yancey, rest in peace, and he created a genre called neo soul, and he's one of the most prolific producers. The way in which he changed time is really pivotal, and timing, and it is imitated and emulated to this day. And what techno has done in Detroit, it is a form that was created by young Black guys living in the city who decided to create their own sound and their own genre of music. They weren't welcome into the music industry that I just spoke of, and so they created their own industry. I want to highlight that when we say people are criminals, it's not a justification for people's response to what is happening to them. It's a reframing to understand how it is that people are being forced to survive and how people are responding and why people are responding in the ways in which they do respond.
Find out how other people are doing it in the world. Bring those ideas back to what you know you do well, and marry those strengths into one robust future state. That matters. I am Kelly Dobner, and I am Detroit. My father was a union electrician. He was a brother in the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers right here in Detroit, Local 58. He spent his entire career bringing power to the city of Detroit. And my mother was a stay-at-home mom and made sure that my brother and I were as successful as we could be. My name is Kelly Dobner. I am the Chief Growth Officer at Samaritas. At Samaritas, we are committed to the city of Detroit. And it's funny because this year we are celebrating 90 years of compassion in action. And that compassion in action started right here in Detroit, and we've never left. We work with families that are at risk in whatever way possible, and connecting them with resources, education in the community so they can live out to their fullest potential and be thriving, contributing members of this community right here in Detroit. We're highly committed to creating affordable housing opportunities for families, seniors, persons with disabilities, and our refugee population. We have been welcoming refugees to the city of Detroit for the last 75 years. We're one of the largest providers in the entire country. I have seen the city of Detroit evolve from, I'll go back to my childhood in the early 80s, when people were not coming to Detroit. It was a ghost town in a lot of areas. And then you started seeing the momentum change, right? After the bankruptcy, people dug deep. They found their grit. This city is full of grit. And people came together and said, this is not acceptable. This is Detroit. Detroit versus everybody. You see that? I don't know if that's a slogan I would choose to describe us, but Detroit is a resilient city that has just found ways to come together in ways that I never thought possible. Right? And that's what it really takes. It takes a community that's committed to a common goal, a common future state, and figuring out ways to work together, to compromise, to sacrifice in order to make it happen. Having that commitment to celebrating the diversity that's made the city as great as it has, not only from who's here, but celebrating the different opinions and ideas that have contributed to its rebirth. It's such an exciting time in Detroit right now.
Proud to be a Detroiter because when my dad left, he left a legacy of mentorship and enlightenment for the new generation. I'm Kassan Belgrave, and I am Detroit. My father's job, he was a musician, so he was a trumpet player. He toured with Ray Charles for his first stint when he was 18 or 19 years old. Then he moved from New York to Detroit in the 1960s, and he started to mentor a bunch of the young musicians in the house, and he became a Motown recording artist with the Jackson 5, the Temptations. Later in his life, he became mostly a teacher and a mentor. And my mother, who's from Japan, she came here to study English, ended up working in automotive. My dad was really old. He was born in 1936. When he started teaching the youth, in the 80s and 90s, he was already 60 years old. And the fact that he still had kind of a pedigree to teach these really young kids, there's such a big age gap and the knowledge gap. My name is Kassan Belgrave. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and I'm a musician and a multi-instrumentalist and a producer. I cook. Me being so young now, I think that's kind of my goal too. I think I want to continue that and to continue the mentorship of, music tradition and, give the next generation some hope and some motivation to carry the tradition on. I don't think any other city in the country or the world has the tradition that we have, and we have a rich pool of talent here. And I think it just takes some coaching and some teaching, and all the kids who are coming up in this city, they can have something to latch on that's positive instead of, getting distracted by all of the other worldly things. Drawing them to music and drawing them to art, I think that's what's going to keep this city going. And that's what's going to make people want to stay here. You see our city growing exponentially, whether that's new buildings or new programs for, the underprivileged. I think we're rising as a city so exponentially. I think people just want to, keep the old Detroit narrative, like, oh, Detroit's dangerous, don't go there. But because we have so much going on and so much new things going on here, I think people are not ready for what Detroit can be. The baseline goal is just to never quit, just always just chase after your dreams, no matter how far you have to run.
I'm here. I'm not a criminal. And I really just am proud of where we're going and how we've grown as a city as well. I am Taquayan Brookins, and I am Detroit. The values that my parents instilled in me a lot, first of all, because I was the only child, so they poured a lot into me. Definitely hard work, definitely education and entrepreneurship. Having the experiences that we had, a lot of that was attributed to their hard work, their commitment to education, and so they really modeled that for me as a young person, and I continue to carry that through with all of my endeavors and wanting to really strive for greatness. My name is Taquayan Brookins, and I am a philanthropreneur in Detroit. To me, it's important to not just be an entrepreneur, but to use that as a vehicle to give back to the community. Because when I was in college, my undergrad, the first time I went to college, I studied Africana history and really learned about systemic racism in a way that I had never learned about it. And for me, looking at sort of the condition of cities like Detroit, my family, the things that they had went through, I really wanted to be a part of the solution, and I didn't know exactly how, but I knew that I could leverage something that I had within me, figure out a solution so that I could be a part of that resolution for healing our communities. For me, it was about showing the community that it's not just about self, that we don't improve where we are or who we are by doing it alone. And so always remembering to give back, to reach back, and to be a part of the solution. A lot of the communities that I'm used to seeing were communities that were run by the people that had been there for generations. And so recently, within the past decade or so, we see a lot of attention from people that aren't necessarily natives, but that come in and that love our city just as much as we do, that invest in our communities, not just our businesses, but our nonprofits, our communities, our schools. And that's really exciting to see that people come in and they actually care and want to be a part of healing our neighborhoods and not just extracting. I've been here over 30 years and never have experienced violence, and really just being a part of a community. When you come to Detroit, you are with family. You are with people that love their city, that are passionate about their city and about the people in it, not just the buildings and the landmarks. If we could do it, you can do it. If there is a solution out there, you have it in you to figure it out, and using that grit and determination to really take yourself to that next level is possible, and we're an example of what that looks like when you do it.
I felt God was telling me to go into the ministry when I was in junior high, and I approached our junior high youth pastor at my church, and he told me I was wrong. I am Faith Fowler, and I am Detroit. I was very much introverted, still am, quite frankly, which many people are surprised at. I'm much happier reading a book and taking my dog for a walk. Back then, there was still a lot of prejudice about women going into the ministry. In some places, there still is. And when I finished going to school, I knew I wanted to go to seminary, but I didn't have any money. So I took a job at a local Methodist church and began working with their youth. And one week, the pastor said to me that he was going on vacation, would I fill in the pulpit? And I thought, oh man. So I did, and my parents came to hear me, and that's when they knew. And a year later, I went off to Boston to go to seminary. My name is Faith Fowler. I'm the executive director at Cass Community Social Services and the pastor at Cass Community United Methodist Church. I spent the first 8 years of my career in Detroit on the west side. And after that, the bishop or the cabinet appointed me to Cass. And Cass has a long, proud, I think, tradition of doing social ministries or social services that they felt other organizations weren't doing that were desperately needed. So when I arrived at Cass 30 years ago now, they were working with homeless people, they were working with seniors and youth. They had a very active food program, and we still do those things, we just do it on a larger scale. Detroit is a special place. It's a special place in terms of land. The river is beautiful and connects two different countries so that you don't get many places. You can actually take a picture of yourself on Belle Isle and have two countries behind you, right? Which is always fun to show visitors. But it's also a place of people that intentionally want to be here and work very, very hard to work things out sometimes, to make things sometimes. To deal with difficult issues. Sometimes we deal with it before the rest of the nation. When the Depression hit, it hit here first in Detroit. That here people have known tough times and they've experienced it and survived it together. King gave his Martin Luther King I Have a Dream speech here before he did it in Washington. So for us it was a rerun, right? A very good rerun, but a rerun nonetheless. I don't know if he was just testing it, but it was here first.
In the awkwardest stages of life, being 25 every day is my vices and knife. Gotta feel alive to avoid the small urges to die. Living in a world where they hate you for looking like I'm blessed, I know what's next. It's like I'm in the waiting room just waiting to take the test. I believe completely that God pushed me to create music in order to get me out of the box that I was putting myself in, to show me more what I can do to help me gain confidence, and ultimately to carry out some goal that God has outside of my own particular desires. I'm Adonis Black. I am Detroit. It started, I was in middle school and I had a crush on a girl, so I started writing these poems. It didn't really work out. But when I got to college, I started reinvesting time into writing, and I got inspired by a few different projects out at the time. I started making music, and I started recording, and I liked it, and I'm like, I could do this. I'm Adonis Black. I'm a rap artist. Growing up in Detroit, there's a lot of influences around a lot of the time. You know, by 12, 13, different people are coming around and trying to introduce you to things that maybe a kid shouldn't be doing, you know? We spent some time hanging out in abandoned houses, climbing on garages, you know, jumping off of them as well, building tree houses sometimes. I think that a distinction should be made between poetry and songwriting. It's very different. Songwriting is a lot more influenced by other people's perspectives. You know what I mean? Like, what's a great song to you may not be a great song to me, but can we get that product that's a great song to most people? You know what I mean? But with poetry, you don't have to do that. It feels a lot more niche. Songwriting, poetry is just more niche, and songwriting is more broad in terms of who you need to reach. My family was not so supportive, but at the time I was going to Wayne State University. I had peers who were very supportive, and even through some of the earlier songs I made that weren't good, you know, my peers saw the potential. I started printing off mixtapes and passing them around the school on campus. So I did have a lot of support from my social network, but my family were not, and still probably isn't so supportive. They would prefer that I go other safer routes for sure. My journey with music and my connection with music is very God focused, and I don't make like Christian music at all. But there's always a bigger lesson. There's always like a level of development, a level of spiritual awareness. Something I'm trying to say that's deeper than a singular experience, that's deeper than my experience, that comes from somewhere else above us. Detroit is grit, right? There's a certain level of toughness you have to have in order to make it, you know, because Detroit does have some bad influences. I mean, if we're being honest here, the crack epidemic of the 80s destroyed our city in a way to make it unrecognizable. And in the last decade or so, our city's been being rebuilt in a way that makes it look a lot better. There's not a lot of unity, you know, so in order to make it through things, you have to go at a lot of things alone here. And so you build a level of perseverance, you build a level of self-confidence, you build a level of just, you know, I'm going to get it done no matter what it takes. And that's one of the, I think, the jewels about Detroit is, you know, it creates this grit, and, you know, and I love New York, you know, you love New York, but they say if you make it there, you can make it anywhere. I think that's more true about Detroit. I think that the solo route is just tougher, and Detroit builds you to be strong enough to do it. In the hardcore stages of life, being 25 every day is my vices, and I gotta feel alive to avoid the small urges to die. Living in a world where they hate you for looking like I. You can make it here, you can make it anywhere. They say that about other places, but right here is where it's rare. Toughest people in the world, take a breath, I know it's new. Perspectives change every blue moon, but tonight the moon is new. So I don't expect to change your mind or give you instructions what to do. Why you talk about Detroit when you talking with your friends? And understand, we just covered Michael Jackson, the biggest star ever. Don't forget that. And Detroit was clever enough to recognize the levers he would pull to make the weather change. The folks who have been hit with heavy rain, let them get dry again. I ain't even gotta go that far, man. In Detroit, we gave you cars. Henry Ford, he was inventive, innovative. At the least, he was hopeful that he could change the world. And I ain't gotta go that far, man. In Detroit, we gave you cars. Henry Ford, so not the most moral, was inventive, innovative. And at the least, he was hopeful that he could change the world. And that's the power in Detroit. Not the power to just think you can change the world. It's the power to actually go out and do it. Now do it. Go change the world.